Good morning. Om Nazi Namdara Jinunu Be, Tashi Jujina Shubai, Sangi Shadaki. Una Jose Daja Tashi Shu, the major president in Rugo, Chimbeji Bangoto. Kuna Gumbo Jajina Maja, Lumbodar Basara Badani, Simjetimje. Ism the Bazar of Double Days and some debate Pepe, the worship of Galaj. Yambejano Badendo Jeze, Cherez Wangumbo Jabe, say in Buddha. Nimgin Bajokundu Zang, Ubeduji Pegaluji, no Buddha. Chazalanum Daji Pegi George, and you Simpagala Chazalo, Ringin Jotages. The Jumboza Yung Kamada, Niradunda Punzo Pepe, Minujazi, Munjuru. Ringin the Juji Chadanje, Chudu Yawachi Jingajuma, Gizango. Tashi Hamugela Chazalo, Samba Chumbo de Jungsimebu, Midonda Gilbu. Pakibota Lua Mimiza, Namtesis, Hazakolota, Tishulodon. We wanted to take it in the Sasumnazogilu to GP, Jide Kumagela, Chasalo, Daja Tinderjabot. Getting your words of Kunjini, the Debe, some Asian troop, Tashi de Lupusums. Daja Tinderjabazambala, getting your words of Kunjini, to the Bebesum. Tashi de Lepusums of Barsho, Daja Tinderjabazambala, getting your words of Kunjini, to the Bebesum. Yijin Rup Tashi de Lebusum so Parashu, Chumnin de Paragumbochis in Jabayana Chasal. Kangilu Tini Tindini Tatum Tanum Tarazabe, Chingi to go, Chisinzi, Nike to go on the bus, Gondasibes. Mundum Dunga Kisebe, Rosokona, Pujitazi in Arjun. Rudrachato, Yomonino, Legature to Marimus, the Gorinu, Chingi Jazzer. Denisa Jesajutor, the Indonesia Gazette, Kujuraju. Dalamusi Jampriana, O Marapazanadi, Marapazanadi, Marapazanadi. O Marapazanadi, 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 Marapazanadi. O Marapazanadi, 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 Marapanadi. O Marapazanadi, Marapazanadi, Marapanadi. O Marapazanadi, Marapanadi, 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 Marapanadi. Marapanadi, 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 Kurgum to the Shish. Ubetena Sherabretinum, Lebazamejamichuku, Kumbojambe Yanach. Concerta word the bomb, choose a Tiburduna young Kumboji. Came a Pariantum or show, Luri to be Mishitable, Mengasame, Tesomuna, Comju, Niluxian cell, shut up Sumgino, I gave a show. So today I'd like to explain on meditation. But before we do practice of meditation, I think it'll be good to reflect on our life situation. Because when we talk about meditation, finally it has to talk about who we are, which is the nature of our mind. Meditation is not a tranquilizing state. Meditation is not kind of a state where you be in some kind of a conditioned state. They're trying to build up some personality. We have done that a lot. Learning to be like this, learning to be like that. We have been doing that ever since immemorial time. And it's been changing. We cannot rely upon those personality. It's been changing all the time. It changes when we're a child. It changes when we become a teenage. It's the identity we develop of ourselves as a teenage, as an adult, as a grown-up, as we get older. Our relationship with our phenomenal world, our values changes. We become fit in a particular age group. A grown-up would not like to spend time with a little child versus teenage, because the value they share is somewhat different. So we try to fit ourselves in certain circles which we are familiar. Even everyone has the same kind of mind, but we feel comfortable in our own kind of age group, or our as a countryman, or our different circles. And that is not something reliable on the long run. They are made up of conditions, our thought patterns, our surrounding, and we invest heavily in that kind of life, in that kind of life situation. We invest our money, we invest our energy, we invest into our friends, family, and then number of times we see that sometimes we are kicked out of that, or sometimes it doesn't work, or sometimes you feel isolated, of so many things like that. And then it brings suffering, then it brings pain, then it brings disappointment. And those are the nature of condition, what's known as samsaric states, phenomenal samsaric states, human existence, three higher states and three lower states, three higher states of humans, demigods, gods, three lower states, animal realm, hungry ghost, hell realm. And within human realm, so many different values, beliefs, political beliefs, religious beliefs, so many kinds of, we are trying to fit into something. And we never really have found a place that we feel like, this is who I am, and this is where you could relax, and this is like, you see your fundamental nature. I think not many people talk about fundamental nature, in fact. I think that is something more like talking about fundamental nature, who I am, and who I actually am, without depending on any kinds of different personalities that we develop. So, so I think when we talk about the nature of the mind, or fundamental nature, who I am, there's something very, in fact, that is what we all trying to seek. We all trying to find answer, who actually I am. And we try to identify with, when we have exhausted all ideas in the secular world, then we go to spiritual world, trying to find out who we are. We try to seek teachings of Jesus. We try to seek teachings of Hinduism, some to Islam, Buddhism, And so many different presentations within the Christianity alone. How many different branches are there? Baptism, Seventh-day Adventist, Catholic, Protestant, Mormonism, many, many. Same thing within Buddhism also, Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana. Within Hinayana there are many different schools. Within Mahayana there are many different schools. Then within Vajrayana there are many different schools. And then Taoism, Confucianism, Jungism, all these different ideas, what we're trying to do is find out who we are through that, through those teaching and through those knowledge. We're basically trying to find one identity, who actually we are in this universe. And and those teaching, some are different in each other, on a metaphysical level, philosophical level, ethical level. They are common also. Such as, I think, like overall, when we look at the teaching of tolerance, teaching of kind-hearted, teaching of love, these ethical teachings are common in general, many religious teaching. Now then, on a philosophical level, the teaching of no self, the teaching of no ego is something very unique to Buddhist teaching. Though many other teaching would say the ego is not a good thing, I don't think any religion would say the ego is a great thing. But the emphasis on how ego doesn't actually exist is something very specific in the Buddhist teaching, that what is known as the teaching of emptiness. And that's something first you hear, then you reflect, then you actually meditate and try to discover the profound nature of emptiness of our state of mind. So, in Buddhist teaching, the teaching of emptiness wouldn't be a particular religious teaching, in fact. When we talk about religion, of course, Buddhism is one of the major religions of the world, like Christianity, Hinduism, Judaism, many other religions. Buddhism is one of the main teaching. However, one of the differences of Buddhism and other religion, Buddhism is not founded and based on faith. That's a huge difference in that. Buddhism is founded and based on reality. Since it's founded on reality, when Buddha first achieved enlightenment, he said, I've discovered something very profound and very hard to show it to others. Therefore, I'm not going to say anything. And he remained in meditation remained quiet. Then after that, for the future generations' benefit, creating the interdependent, right interdependent, because we live in a phenomenal world of interdependence. Then the Indra and Brahma request Buddha to give teaching, because if Buddha comes in this world, he doesn't give teaching, then there is no benefit to being. So, Now it's very loud. So then, that is not to say that Buddha was, expecting, like a business deal. Okay, I'm only going to give teaching if you pay me a lump sum. It is to show that how profound nature we have, like to show that value, the request by king of the gods, Brahma and Indra, to show that if we don't, interdependently, if they don't show a higher value, then we would not regard that as important. Even that is our own nature. So as interdependent, then after making the requests, please teach the Dharma, then Buddha give the teaching of the Four Noble Truths at the beginning. Now when he give the teaching of the Four Noble Truths, then when you study the Four Noble Truths, the first teaching Buddha gave, he didn't say that you just have belief in me and that will solve all your problem. He said first recognize suffering. He began with the main issue. The issue is we are trying to solve our suffering. We all want to achieve happiness. We all want to achieve liberation. And if that is the case, then we need to address the real problem, which is suffering, which is obstructing our happiness, that we want to overcome our suffering. That is the suffering. So Buddha's first teaching was, first word, in fact, understand suffering, recognize suffering. And if there is suffering, then there has to be a cause, because it will not happen without a reason and without a cause. It is not thrown by someone in the universe upon you. And the cause, Buddha said, is your afflictive emotion, an engagement to that afflictive emotion, which is called karma, action and neurosis, is what brings the suffering. There's no one doing that for you. It's not a demon or Satan or anything. That the very cause to your suffering is afflictive emotion and engagement to that afflictive emotion, called le tang nyomongpa, Tibetan word. Le means action and nyomongpa means afflictive emotion. So when we look at what is that afflictive emotion, ignorance. Foundation first is ignorance, not knowing. That ignorance creates byproduct, aggression, attachment, and the rest of all passions and neurosis comes out of that. So if you don't want suffering, then you need to eliminate that. So that is the second noble truth. Now, if you look, suffering, Buddha never invented suffering. It is a reality of our afflictive emotion, byproduct. Suffering has two parts, cause and fruition. The causes of suffering and the fruition of suffering, which you experience as suffering. The causes of suffering are afflictive emotion, which includes the three poisons, traditionally what we talk. Ignorance, attachment, and anger. The three main root cause of our suffering. And as long as we have these three in our mind, there will be no end to suffering. Infinite sufferings are born out of that. Suffering of suffering, change of suffering, conditioned suffering, the suffering of the lower realms, the suffering of the higher realms, suffering of the humans, suffering of the animals. And we can see the suffering of the humans and suffering of the animals. We can relate to that. Among the animals, there's the animals who live in the ocean, and the animals, the traditional words, tundo, Tibetan words, tundo. So it just generalized all those mammals, fish, they are also kind of in the category of animals. So and we can say animals who live in the ocean, animal who lives on the surface. Infinite suffering. The most comfortable animal are the pets. And they're also like tied up by the owner. They don't have the freedom to go. And they have lots of what they can do, what they cannot do, limitation. They're suffering of that. So all those sufferings are not done by somebody else. Our own confusion of our mind brings about that suffering. The causes is our own confused mind, and the result is all confused mind. So we are directly responsible for our suffering. That's what Buddha said. So, and when we look into it, yes, it's true. There is ignorance in our mind, not knowing. Something went fundamentally wrong. There is anger, which takes away all our joy, destroy all our relationships, and it's true. And there is attachment. And all these are, it doesn't have to be this way, but somehow, unfortunately, it is happening that way. And that unfortunate situation is called samsara, which is like a cycle, keeps going on and on and on without any exit. It'll be like you're driving on a highway in Denver and you never find an exit. That'll be pretty not so nice. That's what it seems to be happening in our life. We come to the same spot, then again we are going again and again and again, in different shapes, in different situations, but the same thing happening all the time. So samsara is vicious, very vicious, in fact. Then we are frustrated deep inside. We want to get out of it every day. Like not for a moment that we would say, given the possibility you have, would you allow yourself to suffer? Even for a minute? No, you will not allow that. I don't want to suffer even for a second. But unfortunately, we are going through that. Powerless at this point. Like we lost our ground. And perhaps we did lost our ground. And so now we go with the flow of karma, So very mixed life we have. Result is sometimes joy, sometimes pain, even, fluctuation daily, morning time, afternoon, evening, in our mind state, imagination, thoughts, fear. I think between hope and fear, we have more fear. Always uncertain what could happen. Always not sure, something wrong may happen. I need to do this, I need to do that. And when that thought arises, I need to defend myself in this way, I need to do that. Most of the time, due to fundamental ignorance of not knowing one's nature, because who took place on the fundamental state now? An ego took place. And since ego is a flawed mind, it can never take you to the right spot, the right decision, the right inspiration, the right way of thinking, because it's fundamentally flawed. So its tools of working with your life situation is aggression, anger, frustration. And then with that come the rest of all the afflictive emotions, from jealousy to uncertainty to fear, and we are struggling all the time, so our mind is never at peace, deep inside, always disturbed. We cannot trust other people because we don't trust ourselves. We think we trust ourselves. You look deeper, you don't trust yourself. Because we don't trust ourselves, many times we try to, become alcoholic. It's true.
because you don't trust yourself. You become alcoholic when you don't trust yourself. You take drugs because you don't trust yourself. You want to forget about everything. You want to alter, just take yourself to a state of mind that you can forget everything for some time, whatever. So the result, and then these creates, like, make you more victimized on the long run. Instead of you coming out of that place as a better human being, it makes you addicted, addictions, and all the negative qualities come after that. The fact is, we have the potential within us to come out of it, within our own mind. But somehow we lost the direction. So that is an unfortunate thing. And that's what samsara is, vicious. The cycle is a vicious cycle, terrible cycle. The suffering being goes through is unimaginable, in fact. So therefore, when we look at that, Buddha didn't create that suffering. Buddha simply said there is suffering and cause to suffering. You need to, if you want to get out of suffering, you need to recognize the very fundamental cause. And that's where, when Buddha, in his own life, being born as a prince, and all the luxury of a prince, all the life situation as a prince, but he was never happy. Because he always wanted, when he saw the sickness, old age, changes happening, and futility at the end, kingdoms have come and gone. What we see today, fortress in Europe, fortress in India, fortress in Africa, fortress in Colorado, just simply history. They're museum piece today. But when the humans rule those places, each fortress, there have been some war fought. So many killing, so many trying to occupy, and so much suffering has been brought. So therefore, Buddha saw the futility of life. Being a prince, his father wants him to go in occupy more land, making part of the kingdom. And he saw that's not really the answer. And he was so deeply contemplating, there is an answer that how we can come out of this suffering. And then he went under the Bodhi tree. Finally, he said, through receiving teaching from his teachers, and then he was not very satisfied with the teaching that Hinduism provided at that time. He did all the Hindu meditation, but still he found there is something missing, lacking. And finally he saw what is really the cause was this notion of sense of ego, which is the main root cause of all suffering. And ego actually doesn't exist. So when we look into our own life, we are just going through the same suffering. We are going through the suffering of a lot of uncertainties in our life, fluctuation, and trapped in the world of that afflictive world and karmic world. So therefore, Buddhism, we can say, is finding reality. In fact, karma is not religion. In fact, afflictive emotion is not religion. In fact, trying to see the answer out of that is again not particular religion. It is a reality. We like to label religion, compassion. Compassion again, in fact, has nothing to do with religion. Compassion is inherent quality of us. Wisdom is inherent quality of us. And because, we live in a world of culture, and cultures are nothing more than, ego's creation. All cultures are, you feel you belong, you feel like you like to belong to this culture. Asian culture, Western culture, they all have no substantial reality deep inside. And sometimes people feel not happy. Some Asian like to be like American. American like to be like Tibetans, or Chinese, or Japanese, or whatever. You feel happier momentarily. Those are all momentarily. It cannot last forever because they have no substantial reality to begin with. It's like a dream. Dream never have a reality, so we just go through that. So life is also like a dream. We just go through that. Therefore, it says, you like Asian culture, you like Western culture, you like their food, you like their clothes. It's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Enjoy, but don't get attached. That's the important thing. The catch is never get attached. Best is never to get attached to anything. That doesn't mean you cannot enjoy. Go ahead. You still have your attachment deep inside. But try to learn not to get strong attachment. Because attachment brings suffering. And the very object of attachment itself has no substantial reality. Neither the thought have no substantial reality. It could change. Your feeling can change towards that object of attachment. So then if you put a lot of attachment, then later it brings tremendous suffering. Why it brings suffering? Because there is no reality. What you really invested on that object, finally it can decay. It is because it's conditioned. Your emotion is also conditioned. Your investment to that object is also conditioned. So you cannot trust anything which is conditioned. So Buddha gave a statement. Duje tamche mitakpa. All condition is impermanence. They change to nature. All condition. Our thoughts condition also. It changes, right? How much time it changes? What you think good today, you may not think good tomorrow. It changes. House, condition. It cannot last. You need to put a roof, new roof. After 17 years, guarantee, then you go and fight with your roofing company saying, there's 1 year left and it's leaking and all things like that. All condition. So all phenomena of condition is impermanence, bound to decay because it's got no substantial reality to begin with. Condition and interdependent, same. They're dependent on something, so it cannot last forever. It is constantly changing. Then, Duje Tamche Mitakpa, the 4 pillars of Buddhist teaching. Duje Tamche Mitakpa, all conditioned phenomena is impermanence. For number 1. Zakche Tamche Dungalwa, second pillar of the Dhamma. All afflictive emotion, zakpa, zak means to fall down. Zak. Afflictive emotion, moment the mind is engaged, it will fall down. Zakche, therefore it brings suffering. It's not go beyond, it falls down. The notion of falling down, if you fall from the roof, then you will break your legs. Something injury and pain will happen. So any mind which is living in that afflictive state will fall down and will experience suffering. Zakche, tamche, not just one. All afflictive emotion brings pain, without exception. Zakche, tamche means all. Dungalwa, suffering. The third is chö tamche dongjing dagme pa. All phenomena, outer phenomena, the continent, inner phenomena, those who live, humans, animals, creatures, mammals, and then our world system. They have no self. This is very interesting. All phenomena, whether outer phenomena, inner phenomena, have no self. Free of the notion that we hold on to as permanence, as something real. It doesn't mean they do not exist. It means they don't have a self. Now, Buddhism seems to emphasize a lot on this self, you see. And you may ask you may wonder, why Buddhism puts so much importance and question about this self, no self, no self, no self. The whole Buddhist world seems to be going around this no self. And you're trying to figure it out. Okay, no self, but here I am. You know? Okay, no self, but okay, then, so this is the core of the Buddhist teaching, no self. Now, no self, we begin to see that no self through teaching of interdependence. If there is a self, there will be no interdependence. It's reality, it's a fact. Because there is interdependence, therefore there is no self, permanent self. Permanent self. Identity, yes, but no permanent self. Yes, there is identity. As a country, could be American identity. As a person, you could be John, Mary, personal identity. Your house, personal identity. But not the kind of what we usually get deep inside as a permanent John, permanent Mary, everlasting John, everlasting Mary, everlasting house, everlasting roof. It has never ever happened. I'll be happy to see a everlasting solar power on this building right now so that we can have air condition everything without paying bills. But that has never existed. No, I think it will ever happen. So everything like that self is the belief of a real self, belief of everything self, everything, your emotion, your friendship, your neighborhood, your life situation, everything we hold on to, that's what brings neurosis. The result is, why the no self is so important? All our suffering comes from the notion of self. And this self, if you look deeper, because if there's a truly, there's a statement. There's a statement by, I think, Nagarjuna. If things and events have a true self and a permanent true self, then there is no need for interdependence. There will be no relative situation ever happening in our life. I cannot even imagine what kind of life there would be. Like, first of all, you cannot even grow. For you to be 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot, that's interdependent. If there is no interdependence, how can you even have the changes happening in your life? It's not possible. I can't imagine a picture of, like this, conditional phenomena to picture a permanent state without interdependence. The whole law of physics has to change. There will be, I just can't imagine. So therefore, the very notion of self, the erroneous view of the self, and in our life, we are constantly, this question arising everyday life, in fact, everyday situation. We're trying to grab onto something, but it's not lasting, it's not staying, it's changing momentarily, constantly changing. And then you feel like sadness, you feel disappointment, because it's changing. Certain things you don't want to change. You don't want to change your youthfulness. You don't want to change, your pleasures. But they're changing. It's going away. Underneath your feet, constantly slipping away, going away. And so therefore, we are caught with that dilemma. I think that is the real problem in our life. That's why the Dharma says, less attachment. Because if you try to get attached, you will never succeed. In fact, it will give you more suffering. Anything. So he says, but as I said, there is two different. One is identity and one is self. To say that there is no identity, then it's nihilism. We are not saying there is no identity. We are not saying you don't exist. They're saying you don't exist the way you think you exist as a permanent entity based on those emotions that you recognize yourself as a person. Oh, I'm this, I'm American, I'm, have this education, I am this, I have that, all this thing. That is very much changeable. You cannot really rely on that nature. And you know that, it's not. And sometimes we say, I need to change, I need to do something else. So therefore, the no self is something very, very important in trying to discover who we are. Furthermore, we can say self, the very, very deep feeling of our identity as a self is connected with a lot of fear. Am I good enough? Am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Am I eating the right way? Does my friend is happy with me? Or she's not happy? Or she's happy? Constantly you are in a state of making you aggravated. So there is a fear. Did you ever ask why that fear is coming? We have not really asked. That fear shows that that very self is perhaps on a very shaky ground, like a sandcastle. Children play on the beach and they make sandcastle, and very quickly it will be dismantled, destroyed. And we are going through that on the shaky ground of the self, because it is, to begin with, it is shaky thing. Its nature is have no substantial reality and strength in itself to begin with. So therefore, ego is always, because in fact, it doesn't exist, therefore it's constantly trying to say, I do exist. And you are not comfortable with that, but it's your habit that you just go through, like you have no sense of power to see that you can just simply let go. But you feel like you need to hold on to that. So always struggling. The result is constant fighting, constant fighting. The sense of survival, the fear of survival, the fear of losing yourself. You don't have to do anything, in fact. You just allow and let go. And there you are. Without that notion of tightness of the self. That's where the practice of meditation comes. Discovering yourself. Learning to undo that ego, that self, which has prisoned us in samsara from so many lifetimes, making us go through so many different stages of samsaric causes and suffering. Humans, animals, we have taken all kinds of rebirths, from bugs to creatures, and went through so many things. Even in one human life, we've been through hell. We have become like demigods, jealousy. We have become pride like gods. We suspicious. We become like ignorant. We have become greedy. We have become angry. All the 6 realms quality that we went through in our life situation. And those root seeds are still there. It's still 6 realms of life situation just in one human body. We get greedy, we get angry, we get suspicious, we don't trust, we don't have jealousy and pride and ego. All those brings us suffering. In fact, if you look deeply to your state of mind thoughts, all thoughts are tainted with some kind of afflictive emotion. If you really introspect your thoughts, you think, okay, you want to go somewhere. Then first it looks innocent. Then you have thought, oh, I may meet that person. Good. You attach. Or that person will harm, anger. Then all neurosis is built up. As a result, a lot of suffering is produced. So therefore, we need to recognize that in the Four Noble Truth teaching of Buddha. Constantly have a mindfulness, because the biggest destroyer of our happiness is our afflictive emotion and ignorance. We need to combat that. We need to get rid of that. We need to come out of that. That without that, there will be no answer. There will be no savior. Buddha can't save you. And obviously, anyone who's been waiting for salvation, like a light beaming from the sky, and beam me up, Scott, sort of thing, has never ever happened and never will happen. You can beam yourself up, yes, but there's no one can beam you up. Buddha said, I've shown you the path of liberation, now it's up to you. He never said, just believe in me, I will take you out to heaven. Never. If they can, they would, but they can't. Therefore, whether you believe in Jesus or Buddha or what, here you are left. Reality, you're here. You can believe that, someone will lift you up. Sorry. Here we are. It's just a fantasy, a dream that someone will beam you up. But the good thing, you can beam yourself up. You have the inherent quality. You have the no self nature. Why? Because you have that very cause of ignorance and the birth of its field of all these samsaric states are false. Therefore, you can take yourself. You can see that. Neurosis have no reality. The very cause of suffering is neurosis. Neurosis and afflictive emotion is no reality. It's devoid of inherent quality. And how, for example, I've said many times, let me say one more time. For example, anger, which is among the all afflictive emotion, one of the most destructive nature of all emotions, which brings tremendous suffering into our life. When you have an anger, it seems like there is just anger. It's so fast. At this time, we are so used to that. It's so fast. Instantly, you think of the face of the person you don't like, anger just comes up. But in order to have anger, there has to be an object. It didn't happen when you're first born and that person is first born. There is no anger. It's when you grow up and due to many circumstances and situation, then you begin to dislike each other, and then you have this notion of feeling of anger, frustration, build up. That person didn't do this way, the way you wanted, or whatever the reason. Then many factors coming together, the emotion of anger appear. There's no one such thing, the anger came by itself. Subject, object, many things happening. Then finally there's anger appear. So all emotions are like that. All our feelings are like that. That's what interdependent, the phenomena is nature of interdependent. Nothing, you're feeling of love, you're feeling of caring, you're feeling of anger, you're feeling of jealousy. Every emotions and thoughts is interdependent. Now, if it's interdependent, there is no permanent, there's no independent. We feel these are independent. Everything's so real, therefore I couldn't let go. But when you see these emotions are built up based on interdependence, then they are devoid of any inherent quality. Therefore it is said, the essence of anger is wisdom. Essence of desire is wisdom. Essence of jealousy is wisdom. Essence of all phenomena is wisdom, because there is no inherent that neurosis. There is no inherent neurosis in that. It's just in your mind you build up, but it's devoid of it in essence. In essence, good and bad, one taste. The essence of good emotion also is emptiness. The essence of bad emotion is also emptiness. Now, when we say emptiness, you see, we instantly go to a negation state. Oh, empty means nothing. That is also like neurosis. So, but first, because we're so used to this permanence, when we first break it to first stage, emptiness, we feel comfortable. Okay, like no thought, no thinking, I feel good. Because I'm always so much disturbed by thinking. Now no thinking, feel peace. So we do everything. We shut our eyes. We get deep into absorb ourselves, and then just like to the point, sometimes we can go crazy if you're not careful. Like going deep, absorption, very tight. And I've seen people who don't do meditation properly can go crazy also. Because too much holding it. You're trying to shut the whole world inside, outside. And that's, again, the wrong way, how one can fall into absorption, stupid, nihilistic state. Very destructive. It destroys you. There's a saying, if you think, if those who believe in eternalism, like everything's so real, are destroyed. Those who believe nothing exists are even more stupid. Neither one of them are right view. To think everything is so real definitely leads to so many problems. If you say you're completely closed up, nothing, it brings so much, the punk environment. There's a lot of anger, kind of. Maybe I'm wrong, I'm sorry. That's all I heard. I think hippie movement is great, personally. I grew up in Nepal during hippies' time. I have a lot of hippies, and I love them. Make love, no war. This is better, But you get into a state where there's a lot of nihilistic view, rejection, and like state where you build up a lot of frustration and anger. Of course, that's not. Both are wrong. Nihilism is wrong, and eternalism is also wrong. Because eternalism doesn't exist, clearly proved by interdependent. And then clearly proved by interdependent, nihilism also is wrong, because there is dependence. The word interdependence is so powerful. I think if we can look through, we can see the true reality of nature. Because one, we can see that things are not permanent as we think, because they are interdependent, dependent on each other. What brings a magical identity. Our identity are magical. Magic means something not really, but yet it appears. Like that, we are like that, because it's not permanent, it's interdependent. Our form is interdependent. Our feeling is interdependent. Our thoughts are interdependent. Our phenomena is interdependent. So there's no one independent state. Many factors playing the role and constantly changing, playing the role, constantly changing. So therefore, if we can live like in a fluid way, I think it'll be very positive and goodness will come. If we live like in a tight, solid way, it can create a lot of pain and harm to us. It's like ice. The nature of the water is fluid. But you put that water in the fridge, in the freezer, it becomes hard, heavy, sharp. You try to swallow, it can kill you. But its essence is fluid, very gentle water, very pleasant. So I think that's something our nature. Our nature is something fundamentally like water, very gentle, soothing, healing. And our afflictive emotions and neurosis like an ice that is sharp, heavy, painful. You try to swallow that, it will kill you. That's what's happening in our life. All our pain and suffering and confusion is going through because we're not able to relate, be in that essence, being in that nature. So therefore, he says, less attachment, more happiness, in fact. Doesn't mean that if we are, clinging, grasping so strongly, we think, if I don't grasp, how will my partner feel I love? I think, as I said, there is no identity. There is identity, but it's an illusory identity to begin with. So therefore, of course, if you see that nature, there will be even more caring and affection, and the right approach will come in that relationship, rather than possessing and try to control and put it your way, my way, or no way, which we try to do all the time. We play that game all the time in our relationship, in our life situation, with friends and everyone. You try to mold everyone the way you want it. And nobody likes that. You also don't like it, but somehow your mind is so caught up into that. That's why when we do practice meditation, it opens up and makes the world more sane and more clear. And a true, genuine sense of affection can only arise with an open mind. It cannot arise with a neurotic mind. No, neurotic means to believe in something which doesn't exist. That is what neurotic means. And its effect is always pain and suffering. So we are trying to get rid of that. So that's one thing I want to say. And secondly, now we need to realize our condition. Our condition is human being right now, which is very, very hard to achieve. It is said that the amount of good merit, amount of compassion and kindness, all which produce tremendous merit, the result is finally we got a human body. And it's so true if you really reflect into it. Traditional teaching explain like the entire world is like one big ocean. In fact, the universe is one big ocean. And above that ocean, there's a circle, like a tire circle. And below that ocean, there's one blind turtle. That one blind turtle, once in 100 years, comes up. Once in 100 years. Once in 100 years comes up and is had to go in that circle. What is the possibility? It's almost impossible. But it could happen, but it was impossible. Once in 100 years, only one blind turtle underneath the ocean, coming up once every 100 years, and its head getting into it. To get a human rebirth is even harder than that. It's not that easy. We think, oh, our parents make love and you're conceiving, that's it. No, it's not like that. There's so many beings trying to enter a womb, usually, to give a birth. Do you know how many beings in this room right now? We can scientifically say that there are so many microscopic beings, probably those of the microscopic body, there are trillions. We see 7 billion people. There is more than 7 billion beings in this room right now. Those who have microscopic body. And if you look through the medical instrument, you can see what's crawling on your hand, getting into your ears, all kinds of shapes. You don't want to think about those, so scary looking. Really amazing. I saw one time, you on National Geographic, how they're trying to show, looks like snake, look like scorpion, look like all kinds of things, constant all over our body and moving microscopic. That's too tiny to see with these eyes. Now, how many don't have body? There's so many beings trying to look for a body to get it. Even harder. Now, human being, look at our body. We have the comfort, and we have, even among a lower ladder of a human, that possibility that he or she has is no comparison that animals don't have anything like that. Most animals are naked. We can wear clothes. They don't have clothes. Dogs, even the pets, don't have clothes. But we have clothes. What food we can enjoy, all the varieties, heating, cooling, it's not possible to those beings. In fact, they feel like crushed. Right now, each phenomena we go through is so unique. It's very personally tailored, in fact, I can say, phenomena. There is a common phenomena we all see as a human being. But individual phenomena, we all go through our own different life situation we go through, which is very unique to each one of us. And when you look at that way, the dimension of the world and what we experience is so unique. There's no such thing as to say that, everything is common in every sense. For example, we live in this world today heavily influenced by the science. And science has given great contribution to mankind. At the same time, science has also brought tremendous destructive knowledge to mankind, such as atomic bomb, nuclear, hydrogen bomb, chemical warfare, all those things which can destroy our world in an instant. And we are today more danger than any time else in the history to be destroyed. Anytime some crazy person can push a button and destroy this world, maybe 10 times, 20 times, whatever. So we live in a world like that. And the base of science is very materialistic. The studies, science is based on study of object, but science is never based on study of subjective experience, mind. Science is lacking in that. It's just beginning to learn about mind, because finally you keep reaching the level of quantum physics theory. At some point then you need to ask, who is, there is a mind consciousness going through that, but that study is just on the very kindergarten level. So science have not much of a notion of any idea about mind, because mind is not material to study. Mind is immaterial. So how can you study immaterial? You need object can be studied. So everything is based on objective, not based on subjective. Now, when you look at the subjective, then you talk about experience of compassion. Talk about experience of wisdom. Talk about experience of self. These are not really in the realm of science. The realm of science is basically how the heat is produced, how the cold is produced, how basically is objective study, not subjective study. When you really look into that, when you see, when you see personal dimension experience of a human being, that we all have like individual karma. In the Dharma, there's a collective karma, which you experience the whole world system as a collective. To know Denver as a Denver, for example, everyone. But then collective karma, some may like Denver, some may not like Denver, some may see Denver in this way, or some may see Denver in that way. And then there is a reality in that. For example, your relationship to your partners and friends is very unique to you, is not shared by other people. The feeling you have to your partner is very unique to you, that not other people share that. Isn't it? That's your individual experience. So you many times you live in that world, phenomenal world. How you feel about that due to your karmic actions of the past, what presented you, how you go through that. And therefore it says that to some, for example, as much as we feel right now the comfort of this temperature, whatever we feel right now, is not the same to every being in this room. Even as a human being, some may feel comfortable, some may not feel comfortable. The phenomenal experience, to judge that everyone goes through the same is again pretty much wrong. Because there are beings who are underneath your feet who feel crushed like a mountain right now. That's also reality. When you're breathing in and out, some may feel like sucked in and sucked out, like we're going through like some kind of vacuum. So when we go through that infinite experience, being goes through. So therefore, and all of those have no devoid of inherent existence, but trapped in a world dimension like we are trapped, and we can see how we are trapped based on a dream. How you're trapped in the dream. Even the dream is not real, but nevertheless you think it's so real. And likewise, during the daytime, you also go through that. So everything is, we are making it up. Nobody is making this up. We are making all our confusion in our world. We are making that. Nobody makes us angry. We are making it angry. So now, learning about Dharma is change ourselves. The change can only happen when you want to change. You have the power to change yourself. Nobody has the power to change you, but you have the power to change. The teacher can only guide you, but the teacher cannot change you. Buddha is called the supreme guide, but Buddha also cannot change you. You have to change yourself. You have the potential to change, and you have the ability to change if you change. That's how you become Buddha finally. You become perfection, awakened state when you follow, study the Dharma, hear, reflect on it, and practice on it. Then you can change. You can find liberation. But you cannot find liberation if you live in the old world system and waiting for someone to save you. That will never happen. It will never ever happen. But when you sit, you can see how you can transcend. Likewise, the mind can, subjective mind can so profound. Right now, there's a lot of things you don't know about yourself. There are a lot of things you don't know about. You're so used, you're familiar with the world of afflictive emotion. You know that pretty well, but you don't know your potential, how you can come out of it. You can see a glimpse of that when you do meditation, when you hear the Dharma, when you practice, when you meditate, you can see how you can bring change in your life. But still, it's very on the early level. So there is direct experience, subtle experience, and some very subtle experience. Like, for example, the three kayas. The fundamental awakening quality of your mind, enlightened mind. Right now we see, for example, anger very obvious. We see all other afflictive very obvious. But we don't see, for example, like the transcendent quality. Once in a while we have a glimpse. But that's not like predominant factor happening all the time. Does it mean that it will never happen? No, it will happen. But somehow we have not really looked inside ourselves. Now, other thing important is to looking inside. Soksir Muche, when he was here last time, he said, look at your own fault. Don't look at fault of others. This is really one very important. If you want to improve yourself, you want to learn yourself, you want to change yourself, then you need to look into yourself. You cannot learn by judging other people, but you can change yourself by looking into yourself. If you start to look outside, we've been doing that all the time. We've been blaming our problem to others. We've been judging this way, judging that way, and always thinking I'm right, others are wrong. That's our basic mindset. We always think I'm right, you're wrong. In one day, how many times you would admit that you are wrong? Maybe 3 times. How many times you think others are wrong? 99%. And because of that, we never learn. we can shut down the wrong way of approaching. So therefore, the teaching by His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche, there's a teaching called looking at one's own fault. If you look at your own fault, then you learn from everyone. Then you improve, you change. But if you try to look at others' fault, you will never change. You can never see anything good. And that's something very important. Looking into your fault, it makes you grow. But looking at fault of others, it makes you weak. So I just want to say that. Please note that. Looking into fault of others, you see yourself. It makes you weak. Looking into your own fault makes you strong. You come out of it. You learn. You change. You transform. So that's a very important part of the Dharma. And you become a gentler person, because when you see your own faults, naturally the other side will instantly take place, and you become kinder, compassionate, big change into your life. So I think we should make that as part of our life practice, looking at one's own fault, not to look at fault of others. Very, very important Dharma practice, that is. So seeing our condition, looking into one's faults, those two very, very important. Then the third is mindfulness. I'm glad to hear these days people are into mindfulness. I had mindfulness is like the fashion of the mind these days, in this time. That's good. It has not been a fashion for Dharma. It has been, more than 2,600 years ago, Buddha taught mindfulness is the first step to transform yourself. And particularly in the practice meditation, you need mindfulness. In fact, you need mindfulness to look into your own fault. You need mindfulness to not to look at others' fault. You need mindfulness, all the time to work with your neurosis, to transform yourself. That is mindfulness, So, but in the practice meditation, the mindfulness of the body, you must remember, whenever you are, when you do meditation, if you do meditation, do it the right way. Otherwise, don't do. There's no point. Because if you do it the right way, you will see the result. If you do it the wrong way, you won't see the result. So they're saying, if you do it the right way. Otherwise, doing the wrong way will bring no result. So mindfulness plays a very important role. In fact, mindfulness is the one which will transform us and bring changes. So 4 kinds of mindfulness. Mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the feeling, mindfulness of the mind, mindfulness of the phenomena. Mindfulness phenomena is interdependent. Seeing the nature of devoid of any inherent permanent quality. That helps you. Why Buddhism is talking about no self and interdependent? Because then it will change you. It will see your goodness, basic goodness. Until you don't see interdependent, the possibility to change and become a better human being, transformation is not possible, because you're stuck with the notion of self. You see, big, big difference. If you're stuck with the notion of self, you can never come out of that. So it makes you more open. It makes you more joyful. It also makes, you can have a sense of humor in everything. Compassion. Somebody recently asked me, wherever, I'm not remember, but compassion has to be serious. Compassion has to be firm. Compassion is open. Compassion is every neurosis essence is wisdom, and that wisdom in fact is compassion. Therefore, compassion can be actually very humorous. Compassion can be very light. Compassion is not deadly serious at all. Those who think compassion has to be you give some food to a beggar who have no food to eat, that's just like more like, part of it, or pity. But true sense of compassion has tremendous opening and tremendous sense of joy, because that mind is so free. And therefore, since the mind is so free, you never look down on something. You never think of yourself as superior or others as inferior. That's how compassion is. As long as you hold the notion of self, you will always look yourself as superior. I'm better than others. The other is good, but still I'm a little better. That is neurosis. That's definitely neurotic mind. The mind is, the mind deep inside is enlightened mind. When you go beyond self, no self, then you can truly manifest the beauty of life. All the wisdoms, whatever we talk about, noble qualities we talk about, are truly manifested at that level. And it can be very simple, and it can be very profound, and it can be very open. But the firmness, seriousness, because we are always serious, so we even bring compassion into serious thing. It's not really the nature of compassion which is serious. It's our own little part of our neurosis, the very serious part, that also try to bring that about. So it's just your own way, not really the essence of that. Now, when you do meditation, you will get to that. You will unfold those subtle aspects of mind which are right now not actualized. I think there's an English word, I don't remember, not actualized, dormant. Right now, many of your inner qualities are dormant. Even you have that quality. You have the quality to right now come out of ego. You have the quality right now to get out of duality. It's inherent, but because of the habits, that's what is obscuring. And so it requires patience. As a Dharma practitioner, you require patience. You cannot change in one day. You cannot change in 1 month. It will take time. Like you see yourself this year, you see yourself next year. Keep continuing. Then there will be change, because what needs to be changed has no inherent quality. Therefore, it can be changed. If the neurosis is permanent, it cannot change. Since the neurosis is impermanent, the neurosis is inherently devoid. Therefore, change is right here. In fact, right now, in essence, nothing has happened. In essence, it's like there's no neurosis. And that is like beyond time, beyond space. The notion of space and time doesn't exist in essence. It's in the world of habit, duality, there is time and space and habit. And so we live in that condition. And we trap ourselves in that by clinging, by grasping, by holding it so tightly. And no matter how much you hold tightly, in fact, you can never succeed. It's like slipping all the time. It's like you have a grease in your hand and you're trying to grab someone, and you cannot grab, but it will slip. It's slipping, but you're trying to grab. It's slipping, you're trying to grab. It's slipping, you're trying. That's what is happening all the time. So I thought I want to say this thing. Sometimes it's important to know our condition, the human condition, and our neurosis. So you have some groundwork to work with when you go back to your home, when from tomorrow, how you see the world, how you relate with your emotion, how you relate with the world. It can be very beneficial. Looking at one's own fault, looking at the nature of interdependence, looking at the essence of interdependence, which is devoid of any stain. Any stain. Moment there is something you're holding on to, grasping, that is a stain also. It says even spiritual. If you grasp even a deity practice, you grasp to that will be also attachment. So therefore, finally, the nature is totally open and free. Therefore, one is to remain and open and free as much as possible. And that's come through the practice of meditation. You sit and you're just there. Neither you're suppressing, nor you are. Suppression is neurotic. That is neurosis. Distraction is also neurosis, right? Distraction is also you engaging in neurosis. What you're distracted? You're distracted with all kinds of negative emotions will arise. That's also neurosis. You try to suppress, that's also neurosis. Now where is sanity then? The question is, where is sanity? Sanity is allowing the mind to be open and let it clean all the stains of energies, subtle energy in your mind, or you can subtle subconscious gossip to gross gossips, to just allow that to clean. It's like if you collect so many things, in your house and put it everywhere, it look clustered and it look claustrophobic. But you clean it, then it's fresh air. Like you need to have fresh air in your mind. Every day fresh air brings compassion and wisdom and joy and sense of humor. That's what it does. It makes you what you're seeking, happiness and freedom, liberation. But if you just collect, the only way to dealing with your collection is distraction and suppression. We're doing that all the time, then it's like we're claustrophobic. There's no fresh air happening. Therefore, meditation, in fact, is the only way how you can clean it. Like house cleaning thing. Mind cleaning is meditation. Method of mind cleaning is meditation. Shaping the right world is the relative positive motivation. And shaping the mind to be free is meditation. So look at that way. So then you can overcome the suppression and the distraction. Distraction to the past thought, distraction to future, distraction in the present, suppression in the present, suppress past thoughts, emotion, or suppress future thoughts coming. All are the wrong way. Because the reality is being in the moment, in the present. That's what the practice meditation. You live in present actually. Whenever you try to live in past and future, you're not there. To be there at home, you have to be here in the moment. So therefore, it's called Buddha of nowness. Nowness, then you relate to the reality. In fact, go to very subtle level of mind, then that is subtle level of mind, your inherent quality of the mind is beyond time. How can, sometimes you can see in a glance, omniscient mind. You can see past, present, future on the moment, here and now, without being trapped in the future, without being trapped in the past. Is that possible? I think yes, it is possible. Because trapped in the past, trapped in the future is dualistic mind. Unconditional mind is neither trapped in the past, nor trapped in the future, nor trapped in the present. It's like inherent open quality. But clairvoyance to see all three times. So therefore, people who have compassion, they can relate to the world in a very skillful way. Because their mind is not trapped in the past, in the future. They're at the moment. If they're not in the moment, they cannot heal, they cannot transform. Because you're in the moment, you can relate to phenomena, whatever the phenomena is. But if you live trapped in different world, you are trapped, you cannot see anything. So those are, you can say sometimes very subtle aspect of mind, which are dormant right now. But can that open up? Yes. We can go beyond time. We can go beyond condition. We can be in an ever-present of nowness, which is primordial state. And that primordial state is an omniscient quality, what we call clear light mind. Our mind is not stupid. Our mind is not nihilism. Our mind is not, it has a quality of knowing, simply knowing, but not trapped in the past, in the present, in the future, is like open and knowing. That's the mind thing. So that comes through the two kinds of practice. One is the positive relative practice of compassion, and the one is the wisdom of shunyata, emptiness, which goes beyond condition, beyond time, beyond all those things. So therefore, you need to do meditation and then also positive actions in your life. Together, positive action and the mindfulness of meditation can open up and can lead you to unchanging, unconditioned state. Because condition will change, but unconditioned state can never change, and that is your inherent quality. So everyone says is Buddha, in fact. Buddha means awaken. Everyone has that awakened quality. It's just that we have just been lost, distracted, obscured by our habits. So I think we need to look into that and see the possibilities of wisdom mind. So I thought, today, this afternoon we will do sitting, but morning I should say these things to remind you. Perhaps you know these things, but it wouldn't hurt to remind you. Or if you don't know, then this is how we must reflect and study and find, how to practice Dharma. And for me as a teacher, I need to explain things to you. Even you hear one time, or 2 times, or 3 times, if I keep reminding you, then you will apply the medication. Like, for example, myself, a bad patient, I don't take medicine properly. But if I keep telling the doctor, it reminds me again and again and again, then I do take some. Then it helps me. I get cured. So like that, sometimes the student needs to be reminded again and again, and see this way, see that way. And then over the days and months and year, your practice will grow. When you meditate, then you can see unfolding of your own awareness, because you hold the ultimate answer is within you, your wisdom and inherent goodness, basic goodness that we all have. And that's what we need to bring about. Like that. Now, so therefore we should not take, one thing I want to say, whatever we talked earlier, but just let me go back one more time, repeat, the precious human rebirth. Do not take it for granted. It's not easy to get back again and again. In fact, every day we're getting closer to death. We're not getting, yesterday has passed. Today we are much closer to death. And we never know when death can happen. So why waste this great opportunity when you have this great vehicle? Shantideva said, the boat of human, you need boat to cross the river or cross the ocean. Human vehicle is like the boat, which can cross the ocean of suffering. Ocean of suffering, Shantideva. This boat will not be easy to get in the future. So do not sleep, O ignorant one, Shantideva said. Don't waste this human body. Opportunities you can practice. Particularly in America, free country. No one can tell you, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. Equality right men and women have. Though it may not be perfect, but it is the best in the world. No condition is perfect. But this is the best. Freedom, equality, amazing good karma. We have to accept that we created in the past, that you are born here. And of course, America is not perfect, but it's better than many other places. So therefore, take the opportunity to make your life positive. Because the answer to your happiness and freedom is in the positive action and the view. So therefore, Shantideva said, don't waste this. Many other teachers explained from the ancient masters, saying how difficult this is to achieve through examples and through meaning. And then when we, as I said, looking in this room, how many beings are there and who don't even have a human body, this condition, the condition of human body, which is so rare, tremendous opportunity it provides us, intelligence provides us, that is not available to animals and creatures like that. And to the point some don't even have a body. And I did mention, earlier that mosquito, when I was doing my retreat in this time in India, there was this mosquito suck my blood. I thought, wow, there's so many beings in this. It was in the bathroom. There were a lot of mosquito in my bathroom. I thought there are lots of beings who don't even have a body. But at least even to go and able to suck my blood is some kind of strength it has to suck my blood. I thought I got to give a credit to this mosquito. Really. There's some may want to suck my blood but don't have the ability. But this can at least suck my blood momentarily. Maybe it's not a good karma, but at least it can do that due to its past good karma. They're able to get that body. So that is true in one way, able to inflict something, pain to me, and make itself satisfied for that moment. Of course, it may be not a good karma on the long run, but time being, yes, it can do that. So then human being, look at opportunity, what you can go to Costco and get all this, whatever you want to eat, all those wonderful foods. And then we say, oh, Costco is not good enough, I need to go to Whole Foods. I mean, look at how, and then this, and then that. Tremendous plenty of, drink a coffee, how much milk you can pour in, fat milk, non-fat milk, half a milk. So many kids don't even have the chance, really. That's mere merit. You need to recognize that's a merit which has not happened just like that. Due to your past good karma, it has happened. There's a cause to that. So do not waste, do not squander your good karma. One time I was traveling with Soksir Rinpoche to Ashland, Oregon. And then we stopped at a rest place, and Rinpoche and I went to the bathroom, and then he's, all the papers you can use to clean and wipe yourself. And then he said, if you people using so much waste or paper, so, oh, this is not good to do. If you use this paper too much, what he was trying to say, you will consume your karma, which is stored in each individual has karma stored, and that will exhaust if we waste. And it really makes sense logically, because we all have a karma, like you have account in your bank account. And if you keep using it too much excessively, it will run out. Same thing, the karma stored, each person has whatever their karma. If we waste that, we do waste a lot of karma, which damage environment, which damage overall in many ways. So there's the individual karma also. So when we take advantage of other people, when we lose our sense of respect, those all affects our well-being and happiness. We need to keep in mind that any negative way of looking of any life situation will destroy our happiness. So we need to respect cause and effect. We really need to respect caring and affection and respect, and those are very important. Because again here the question of the self comes. As long as there is a self is the ignorant and neurotic mind manifestation. Therefore, it never know how to respect other people. It doesn't know how to respect you. It destroy you and destroy others. For example, our typical way of looking at other human beings, if it's higher than you, you get jealous. If it's equal to you, you feel competitiveness. If it's lower than you, you look down. No respect. Deep inside, really look. You feel jealous to who have more than you. You feel competitive if it's equal to you. You look down on people who are lesser than you. That's the nature of ego, how destructive, how negative that mind is. So unless you clean this thing, it will keep creating all the time something negative karma. As a result, never-ending suffering, the byproduct of that. So I think that's how destructive ego mind is. And we don't realize that. We think it's natural. Every day we think it's so natural. We experience our emotions, but we don't see that as negative. We think it's just natural. In fact, if they try to say something, we try to push them down. Whether it's, others, people's choice of life, we look down. Whether it's equal to, in our own partners, we look down. Finally, we're doing the whole damage to ourselves. That's why there is no end to samsara. That's the reason why I need to cut the ties to that. It's important. So, mindfulness and importance of meditation in your daily life. Try to get up early in your life. If you can, get up like 5 in the morning and then prepare yourself. The first thing you want to do when you get out of your bed is engage in awareness of just watch your mind and bring the awareness of meditation. Or if you're doing Ngondro practice, you cleansing the 3 poison is the first stage to do when you get out of the bed. Cleansing the wind of aggression, wind of desire, and wind of ignorance. 3 winds you clear. Then you see your mind calm and clear. And you remain in that state. And then think the first thing you want to have thought is a positive thought. Today, whatever I do may it benefit beings. Because when it benefits beings, it benefits you. Because you and beings are connected in the same awareness. You need to change yourself from those, as I said, from that self-notion of ego, how you look down on others, or look competitive to others, or feel jealous to others, which is the cause to your own suffering and insecurity. Your insecurity comes from those. You want to have confidence in your mind, you can only have confidence by seeing reality, not by neurosis. So change yourself. First thing in the morning, you want to generate calmness and positive shaping of mindset. Once you did that, then the whole day it will have an effect on your actions and how you feel. So that's very important, first thing. And then do some meditation. If you can do like 1 hour of meditation in the morning or half an hour of meditation, then the whole day you will feel calm and less agitated because you've cleaned your mind, so to speak, and therefore, things can come. You will see the same people, you will be in the same world, but your reaction to it will be different. It'll be more skillful, it'll be more joy, it'll be more healing instead of always hitting each other. So that is why morning meditation becomes very important. It gives you the strength and ability to see things clearly the whole day. So that's how you change. And then, of course, you can add up Tonglen practice. Those who are doing Ngondro practice can do Ngondro practice, or those who are doing whatever their practice. But it's good to get up early in the morning. And first thing, even you get late in the morning, first thing you want to shape is just allow the mind to relax and shape it up to a positive, compassionate state that can bring tremendous deep satisfaction and joy in your life. So something like that. Then in the middle also, you know, you should need the mindfulness and awareness, like during the daytime. Time to watch your mind again and again. I guess many of you got Dzogchen teaching. Those who got Dzogchen teaching can practice Dzogchen. You know, in Dzogchen teaching, there's called Chertrol, Shartrol, Rangdol. Chertrol means naked liberation. Shartrol means arising liberation. Rangdol means self-liberation. Those states, when you get angry, you should look at who is getting angry. How's that person? What's the nature of the person getting angry? How is the anger? Where is it? You should look. And then it will just, the moment you start to look inside, you know, it will slow down. As it slows down, it slows your neurosis. As neurosis slows down, it slows your suffering. And then it frees you from that state. So those are very important. Also, you should look when you're eating. You like something very enjoyable. You should see who's getting attached to the state. The point is not to have any stains to remain. But as I said, there's never the question of like negation of identity. Oh, this is a hamburger. Definitely it is a hamburger. No one is saying there is pizza, you know. So it's not like Buddhism is saying there is no pizza, there is no hamburger, there is no Coca-Cola. Buddhism, yes, there is Coca-Cola. It's an interdependent Coca-Cola. Yes, there is a hamburger. It's an interdependent hamburger. There is a pizza. Yes, it's an interdependent pizza. No one says there's no pizza. No one says these are all like yak butter tea. It's just like, these are all different, each one have different identities, and we respect that and its shape. But, you know, trying to, as a self, that independent self pizza, yes, never existed. Including the independent self who is trying to eat also, you know, the karmic body also, finally, that condition, trap, that also doesn't exist. So therefore, you know, you need to not misunderstand that interdependent doesn't mean no identity, but rather it is identity which is a fluid identity, which is open. It can, any possibility can happen in that. So then, so I like before today, I just want to remind you of how to look at your fault. I want you to remind you how to look at the precious human rebirth. I want you to remind you how to look at things are changing and momentarily, you know, and we need to not to squander this opportunity of life. Tremendous blessed we are to be born here in a free country, and you should rejoice that and make your life positive, compassionate for your own goodness, for your own happiness, for your own sake. Because when you practice compassion, you are the first person to receive the benefit. In fact, more than other people. So therefore, that is very important. And then not to lose the view of emptiness, those who are doing Dzogchen practice, and Shamatha meditation, whatever you are doing practice. So I just want to remind you those things, and then you will have a positive, happy life, and finally you can achieve liberation. No doubt about that. So that's something I want to say this morning. And then right now we can have some question and answer period, whatever we discussed this morning. And afternoon we will do meditation practice. So any questions you have?
Rinpoche, thank you so much for your teaching, and there was so much in it today. Pardon me, oh, closer, okay. You mentioned the illusory identity. And from what I understood that you said is that there is illusionary identity that we all have, and maybe the universe has. Is the purpose, if I understand this, is the purpose of that to be able to relate? What is the purpose of illusionary identity? Thank you.
So when you talk about the purpose, then it takes us back to the question of what is the fundamental reality? In other words, reality, because purpose says to relate with the reality. What is its real nature? You know, what's the real nature? Because the purpose comes out of the function of a nature. So therefore, we have to see in two aspects to that. One is relative aspect and one is absolute aspect. Relative truth and absolute truth. Because that is the purpose, truth. The truth is trying to show a purpose, but one is relative, one is absolute. So then the question comes, if you go a little bit further back, if it goes further back, from the absolute point of view, now what's the absolute nature of the mind? It's non-dual mind, non-dual. So the purpose is non-dual, right? It has to be. If the absolute reality of the awareness is non-dual, then of course anything outside of non-dual has no meaning. That's very clear, logical. So then what is non-dual? The non-dual, for example, then the questions come, for example now, we need to relate, because we live in a conditional world, though non-dual is our nature, ultimate nature, but like a dream state where there is no such thing, what's happening in the dream, nevertheless you see your dream. So if the question asks, you know, what's happening in your dream, you are so much caught up in a purpose in your dream, whatever you're doing, fighting, love, this, that, whatever, you can say it. I'm trying to, you're seriously in your dream as much as you're here, you're trying to find some reasons and purpose. You're engaging in that. So if you say, what is the purpose? There is no purpose. It's just that mind is going through like that. So then on an individual level, your dream is very personal, individual, and you see those as a purpose. And yet you also, learning Dharma, you see that those are all relative experience you're going through. And then furthermore, you're going through the relative experience. Now, why you're going through the relative experience? Because you're trapped in a conditioned world. Being trapped in a conditional karmic world, what is called karma, karmic, that is condition. Basically, if we leave the word karma, Sanskrit, let's go in English, is the engagement, is the condition. And in condition, being in that world of condition, when you're trapped, then you see yourself and others, and then you see that in your dream. Now the question is, what's the meaning of dream? What's the purpose of dream? You can always say, yeah, if I see this, that's a good sign. If I see that, that's a bad sign. But finally, the dream itself is devoid of any inherent existence, and the daytime life situation also, whatever that meaning could be, is also a temporal experience. It's a relative experience. It's not something that, okay, if someone say, oh, that dream is sign that you will have youthfulness. Of course, it could give you some experience of vitality. But everyone condition, whoever lives in a world of condition, is bound to decay at the end. So even the symbol is temporal symbol, is not some inherent symbol. So there is that part, and that all conditions finally decay. So we can say, it's important for us to engage, for us to completely purify our, stains. How we can purify the stain is through for example, in the Bodhisattva Yana, the 4 immeasurable thoughts and 6 paramita, generosity, the ethics, the patience, the concentration, the wisdom, all lead us to enlightenment, all lead us to higher state and final liberation from this compartmentalized relative phenomena we are trapped into conditioned state. It makes us free, because as long as we are trapped into condition, then we are not happy. We don't. So therefore, the purpose, when you ask what's the purpose, is purpose are ultimately to be free and doing the purpose of generosity, whether in your dream or in the real life. The purpose of respecting others, ethics, whether in your dream or whether in the daylight time. The purpose of patience, whether in your dream or whether in the daylight time. All these meant to finally to free yourself and then free others, bring an enlightened state finally, because the world is not negation, world is not nihilism, things just do not dissipate into thin air. Why? Because of fundamental quality of clear light. The nature of your mind is clear light, awareness. You can never stop knowing. The nature of mind has a clear light, the kind of like omnipresent knowing, it will continue. The mind awareness will continue. The mind awareness, when it's confused, the notion of self, but we can see the notion of self is wrong view, but the awareness will continue. The knowing part of there is no self, that awareness will continue. And that continuation, that quality finally on the very subtle level, what in the traditional teaching known as the 3 kayas, the enlightened mind, the embodied with tremendous infinite power, for others and for one's benefit. That awareness remove the ignorance of self and the ignorance of all afflictive. Once more self is gone, all afflictive emotion also goes automatically. If you cut the tree from the root, the limbs are also whole at the same time. But if you cut the limb, the roots can still grow thing. So if you can suppress one emotion, negative emotion, still it will grow back. That's how suppression. The way ordinary people relate with the emotion, negative emotion, they do suppress. That's the only way we know. We try to suppress that, we try to forget that, we try to escape from that, or we try to run away from that. And for temporal fix, but never permanent fix, it will grow back. Again, the circumstance, you meet the same person or same place, it brings all memory back and you're back into that stage. So that's like cutting the limbs. Now if you chop from the root, tree root, then all the limbs will not grow. So therefore, the wrong, erroneous view of self we can cut, but the knowing part is ever present. And that knowing part is free of all stains of duality, free of all stains of afflictive emotion. And then you can imagine what that would be like. The infinite power of compassion. Right now we see infinite power of neurosis also. Now that energy of neurosis is purified, no longer there, there's infinite power of freedom and liberation and power to benefit others and yourself. So if you ask, what's the purpose? Finally, purpose, meaning of life is happiness, and that's the ultimate happiness is what it leads us to by seeing that. And though it is like like a dream never existed, but we go through, even this whole thing never really existed fundamentally in a sense, but it appears to that, so one goes through that. So, relative purpose and absolute purpose. Relative purpose, as you are benefiting through this practice of 6 parameter, the purpose is happiness, but it leads to a conditional happiness, which is temporal. The absolute purpose is awakening the Buddhahood, which leads to total transcendence from condition. And because the awareness is there, clear light is there, remove all fixation from that. So something like that. Okay.
Is this working? Hello? Test. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You spoke. You said something like the essence of all afflictive emotions is wisdom. I don't really understand what you meant by that.
So, for example, I use the example of anger. For example, when we have anger, we think that anger is by itself, like there is such thing as anger, inherent anger, permanent anger. But there is no such thing as inherent anger. When you get an anger, you need a subject yourself, object, many reasons, many causes, many factors. Finally, there is anger. So now you see the essence is devoid of any inherent anger. There's no such thing as inherent anger. Even that very anger is, when you look into its essence, it falls apart because it never have an inherent. That's what it means. The wisdom means it is completely, free. Its essence is free. But right now, we still could not grasp we can see that there is no inherent quality. But it's almost like, seems like there's some space, gap, that kind of like, okay, nothing. Now, wisdom, and when we think nothing, it's still something we are trying to grasp to some nothing. You see, so it's like a layer. We can get rid of the first layer, seeing there's no such thing as inherent anger. Then we see the next, there's nothingness now. So that is again a layer. You need to again drop that part. And these are, you cannot just really verbally, explain. You can see logically how the first part is not. Then you can also see logically that part. Now the next part, more subtle part, like nothing. That is also wrong view. You need to transcend both states to be absolute free. And that is possible. You can see logically, like if there's a fire, if there's a smoke, there's a fire. You can see through infrared logic. At the same time, you can see through infrared logic here, because it's not open right now completely, the wisdom, but you can see that there's no such thing as inherent anger. Anger itself is many factors comes together. What seems to is a seemingly phenomena rather than actual phenomena, all our emotions. If it's actual phenomena, can never change. Seemingly phenomena can change because it's no inherent existence. That's the reason. Then that's what we need to meditate. The Buddha's second wheel of Dharma, when he taught in Heart Sutra, basically emphasizing the nature of all phenomena into emptiness, like there's no inherent existence. But then he said, even those who fall into emptiness, there's a trap. Emptiness into emptiness, he said. Even you cling to empty, that is also like you are trapped to empty. And that comes from a lot of meditation. You see, truly from your own experience. You cannot really, by word, it can never be expressed. You sit and sit and sit, and there will be clear light. The nature is clear light, meaning, even that trap is completely in essence. Again, how can there be nothing, there's no such thing as that even the space you're trapped, that is also conditioned space. So you see, mind gets very subtle. To get to the fundamental clear light, it takes some time to see that. But it will happen. How does it happen? Then question is, how would that happen? It will not happen by making things up. Oh, how is clear light? Where is clear light? Oh, that mind itself will obscure that. Because you're constantly replacing again the same thing with different thoughts. Oh, I want to get clear light. Should I close my mind? Should I shut my mind? Should I no, you're not going to clear light. You leave it natural. You keep it natural, natural, natural. At some point it will clear, like the cloud will clear, the mind will get clear. Yeah. That requires patience. And from your own personal experience, it will get there.
Rinpoche, so is that movement of mind that draws us towards something or away from something related to us generating karma? And if so, how can mindfulness help us to diminish that propensity to create karma?
Say that again.
Is the movement of mind that draws us towards something or away from something, is that related to us creating karma?
Yes, because, for example, let me say, when you dream something, when you wake up, you see, let's say, elephant in your dream. You know that was just a dream. There was no elephant, right? But how did you engage? The elephant is big, I need to be away, otherwise it will trample on me in your dream. There's engagement, you're creating, and then you also have fear, and you're trying to escape, you're trying to keep a distance, definitely. You're not going to go next to the elephant feet. Now what's happening at that time? Your mind is kind of like drawn out to the object. Even there is no object, but nevertheless, that's our typical mind every day. Mind goes out. Wisdom mind will see but never go out. There's a difference of an enlightened wisdom mind and dualistic mind. Dualistic mind will go out. Wisdom mind will see it but never go out. So that's how engage in karma and transcending karma.
So is that why you were even talking when we eat, whatever we do, to be mindful of that movement? To kind of...
So, for example, then, now why? Isn't it just like not wise that mind went out when you wake up? If your mind didn't went towards the elephant, you would have no fear. You will just wake up, not trapped. The whole neurosis will not be there. They, try to passive aggression, or raw aggression will never happen. And in fact, nothing was happening. But nevertheless, in your dream, you try to keep space and fear and everything, how you relate to that. Was there any reason when you wake up to do that? There was no reason. The whole reason doing that was unwise. That's how the mind is trapped on a subtle level.
Thank you.
Good morning. Hello. Can you maybe give some advice of how to keep the motivation to get up every day and meditate? Like if you're tired or you're in the middle of the discouragement or fatigue or whatever it is, like how do you actually do it in the morning, every day?
Yeah. There are many ways how you can do it. One is you should read inspiring book First of all, you read about Dharma books. Basically, Dharma books tells us your condition of human life. What's happening right and what's happening wrong, and how to bring changes on the wrong way. Then it inspires you not to, when you see what precious human rebirth you have, I'm wasting it. Just sleeping or not making productive. You're not moving forward. You're just being in a stale situation, and you're allowing it today, you're allowing it tomorrow, you're allowing it day after tomorrow, and then never improvement will come. So then also inspiring book like the Lady Ishit Sogil in Tibet, Lady Mandarava, Milarepa. If you look at the life history of many enlightened beings, how they engage to benefit being. For example, Mother Teresa, she worked tirelessly to benefit being. And all of those things, it's not that you become servant of someone, but it all leads you to purify your own, weaknesses, your own downfalls, your own neuroses which you build up. It will purify and transform that and make you finally realize it, free from all your stains and suffering that you want to get rid of. It can only happen by being in the right path and doing the right way, right livelihood. It will not happen by drugs, by alcohol, by laziness. One of the biggest problems is laziness. So we need to change those habits. Can we change? Yes, we can change. But you need to put, you need some inspiration. So spiritual friends are very important. To have spiritual friends. And reading the right kind of book. Those all help you to see, and then slowly you will change. Yeah, motivation, as you said, motivation comes from inspiration. Such as books, it will come from reading books. And having spiritual friend. I think it's the only two, spiritual friend and reading books is motivation we will get. If you have wrong kind of friends, it give you the wrong motivation. So choosing the right kind of friend, perhaps very important for Dharma practitioner. Because you are influenced by your friend more than ever by anybody else. Okay, so then we will conclude here, and then we will meet at 2. By this merit, may all beings gain omniscience, thus defeat their enemies and neuroses. Thank you. Thank you. Now this morning I talked quite a lot.